What's up, guys? I'm Nobody Special. And over the weekend and into today, there have been more than 2,000 Southwest flights canceled nationwide. And the excuses being offered for these cancellations don't pass the sniff test. And it seems like what is happening is there is a non strike going on among airline pilots, and nobody wants to talk about it, or nobody is willing to talk about it, or people are afraid to talk about it. So, what is going on? You ready? Hit it. Thank you for joining me. I'm Jack Gamble, and I'm Nobody Special. And thousands of people are stranded all over the country right now because over 2,000 flights for Southwest Airlines have been canceled in the last couple of days. This started over the weekend, and some of the excuses that are being offered by the airline and by some of the other organizations really aren't adding up. And I think we can all figure out what is going on here, although we have to tiptoe around the subject because there's some words you just can't say, apparently, and some things you just can't discuss. And it's a mess, okay? Before we get into this, folks, I have to ask you, could you please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell? It really helps me out. It helps me to keep this channel growing, and I'd be forever in your debt. Now, with that, I just want to preface this whole video by saying I try very hard here not to get into politics, okay? Sometimes the world of politics and finance overlap in ways that are unavoidable. So it is my sincere hope that I'm able to get through this video without making things worse, okay? I am not going to take a political position. Knowing me, and if you've been on this channel for a while, you can probably figure out where I lie on the spectrum, but this is not about my opinions, all right? I am just going to try to be factual here, all right? I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to try to take the emotion out of it. I ask you folks to do the same, all right? Let's not let the comments section turn into the worst the internet has to offer when it comes to politics, right? We already have Twitter for that. We don't need any more of it. Okay. That being said, what is going on here? We're going to shrink my head and get into it a little bit. So this is on Argus Media. We're going to move me over here. Southwest Airlines continues to cancel flights. Zoom in a little bit, make Mrs. Special happy. Southwest Airlines canceled hundreds more flights today after canceling nearly 2,000 flights over the weekend, with the U.S. carrier blaming disruptive weather and air traffic controller issues. That's interesting because no other airlines are reporting this problem. So apparently Southwest has their own set of weather and their own set of air traffic controllers that these issues haven't affected any other carriers. So right away, something's wrong here, right? Because it's only Southwest that this problem is happening in. None of the other carriers. The airline canceled more than 1,800 flights during the weekend and has scratched 360 so far off today. This article is dated today, but it's a few hours old, so who knows how many more flights have been canceled, with another 587 flights delayed as of 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Southwest placed the blame on stormy weather and air traffic controller issues. However, the U.S. FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, said no air traffic control shortages have been reported by an airline since October 8th. Some airlines experienced scheduling challenges because aircraft crews were out of place, and some flights were disrupted during the evening on October 8th because of stormy weather. So 3 days ago, there was stormy weather. It doesn't explain the cancellations yesterday, today, the day before that. Also, I just want to emphasize here, because aircraft crews were out of place. That's vaguely worded, all right? Now we're starting to get a little bit more information here. Crews were out of place. Let's move on here. This article is in Reuters. After mass cancellations, Southwest expects flights to normalize this week. Now we go on to describe the number of cancellations and the unfavorable weather. Now I want to scroll down a little bit because I want to point to here. Meanwhile, its pilots' union has denied speculation on social media that cancellations were due to their action. The union said in a statement here on Saturday that it was aware of operational difficulties, but its pilots were not participating in any official or unofficial job actions. So the union is denying any involvement here. Now, I have to be careful in how I word this video because I don't want to end up on some kind of a banned list for using words that we're not allowed to use. So I'm going to have to speak in cryptic language here, and you guys can probably figure out what I'm saying. There was a certain medical requirement that has been handed down from the government, and only a few days ago, Southwest chose to comply with that requirement. And the Southwest Pilots Union has challenged that requirement in court because the Pilots Union doesn't want the company to make their medical decisions for them. The company is trying to prevent the spread of something George Gammon refers to as the cerveza sickness. Can you figure out where we're going with this? And it is ridiculous that if I use the words to accurately describe what is going on right now, my channel is going to end up on some kind of hit list. So that's as emotional as I'm going to get about it. But the pilots union doesn't want to get it. The company, the government is saying you have to get it. And now all of a sudden, the pilots aren't showing up for work. All right? And the company is putting out these BS statements that it's because of the weather and because of the air traffic controllers, even though the FAA is saying it ain't because of our air traffic controllers. And the weather has been fine since Saturday. So the interesting thing is, why would the union come out and deny any involvement here? Because the union is challenging this requirement in court. Well, with that, you have to look into the law. You see, shrinking me again, the Airline Pilots Union is beholden to the Railway Labor Act. All right. Now, I am neither a doctor, neither a financial advisor, nor am I a labor relations attorney. So I'm going to keep this very high level. But the Railway Labor Act is a United States federal law. This is reading off of Wikipedia. On U.S. labor law that governs labor relations in the railroad and airline industries. The act, enacted in 1926 and amended in 1934 and 1936, seeks to substitute bargaining, arbitration, and mediation for strikes to resolve labor disputes. Its provisions were originally enforced under the Board of Mediation, but they were later enforced under the National Mediation Board. So what this is saying is basically, and again, I'm not a lawyer here, so there's probably a million holes in this statement, but the pilots can't just strike, all right? Just like the railroad workers in the 1920s couldn't just strike because it cripples the whole country, okay? It was determined that these segments of the workforce are vital national interests, and so they put these safeguards in place to prevent strikes. For the second, I mean, you see what happens. People get stranded, they're stuck, and now this is going to have rippling effects in the economy, all right? So the pilots union is not allowed to engage in any official action. However, it would appear, based on empirical data, that either a lot of pilots suddenly got sick or suddenly have somewhere else to be other than work today, or a lot of the pilots are not sitting around waiting for the union challenge to play out in court. They're burning through their vacation time. They're burning through their sick time because they know they're about to get fired because they have no intention of complying with certain medical requirements that shall go unnamed. And the press, at least right up until this morning, I didn't see any mainstream outlets that were willing to tell the truth about what was going on. Why? Because they want to squash the story, because the press has a vested interest in this going one way versus the other, because the press tends to lean one way versus the other. And so it really wasn't until midday today that anybody in the mainstream media started to even begin to tell the truth about what was going on here for their own reasons. So, and, you know, both sides are denying it because it's against the law, and, you know, the government wants to deny it because it makes them look bad. Look, it's like, folks, what this is a strike, all right? It's a non-strike, but it's a strike. The pilots are refusing to work because they don't want to undergo this mandatory medical procedure, because the pilots don't want that decision made for them. And the airlines want the pilots to get the mandatory medical procedure to comply with government requirements, to avoid getting sued if people get sick on their airplanes or try to prove that they get sick on their whatever reason. So it's a mess. All right? This is a good old-fashioned clean mess. All right? Now again, I do not want this to spiral into political nonsense, and I don't want the bickering back and forth here. I just want to communicate the situation that is going on. I did sprinkle a little bit of my own flavor in there, talking about how ridiculous this is, and it is ridiculous that we're not allowed to talk about it in a certain way. Ridiculous. 21st century United States. But this is, from an economics and a finance standpoint, this is one more cog in the machine of the global economy that is now grinding and vibrating and making noise. This is one more system that is having trouble, that is out of balance. All right. Now, this may not be the direct result of inflation. All right. But there's a lot of other problems going on in the world that are resulting from inflation and supply chain problems and now this energy crisis, right? And then you throw this on top of it. This is one more problem that we really don't need, all right? This is one that we could have really been avoided. We really don't need this problem, all right? But there it is. I don't think this is going to go away. Also, as the press eventually decides to start telling the truth about what is going on here, you can bank on the narrative will be 100% about grandma who's stuck in the airport and can't make it home for her surgery, or little Johnny who's upset because his trip to Disney World was canceled and now he can't go. All right? Or this company that is now having to lay off workers because their business trips got canceled, right? All of the press coverage is going to be all about the effect on other people caused by this, because they will try to make villains out of these pilots. Bank on that. All right? And I already see it starting to happen. Again, this is not, you can tell I'm struggling with this here, folks, all right? Because I don't want this to descend into a political channel. I'm trying really hard not to make this channel about politics. Sometimes you can't avoid it, all right? And this is one of those cases that it's so important to the economy and it's so important to finance that it can't be overlooked. So you have to touch on it. And I don't want politics filthy stink on this channel. There, I said it. Anyways, folks, that's all I got on this one. This is a short one. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell. I really appreciate it. It helps me to keep this channel growing. In the meantime, live small and dream big.